And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Happy New Year's Eve. Joining us now is Rabbi Spero. Rabbi, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
So where in Ohio are you calling us from?
Canton, Ohio.
Oh, wow. Right down near the land of my birth, Akron, Ohio. So good for you, Northeast Ohio.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Sister cities almost.
A small world. We share the Akron-Canton Airport for those of us listening right now that understand that. So
unbelievable. Wow.
Indeed. You know, we're ending the year, Rabbi. Your thoughts on the year that was 2018?
Well, I liked it because Donald Trump is president, but I've never seen such an onslaught against the president as we've seen coming from the media, the Democrats. It's almost as if the Democrats are willing to make this whole country suffer unnecessarily because they are not in power and they want power. I mean, every day they're assaulting the president and they're making life difficult. They're taking the joy out of many things. They're in constant war mode, and it does have an effect on the American people. You wake up every day, and there's something there that it just makes you feel bad. And they don't care what they're doing to the spirit of the country and the constant acrimony, and shame on them.
Well, which is worse, the Democrats or the media that seem to be cheering on economic ruin?
Oh, there's no question. I put them all together. The media today and the Democrats, they're all part of one particular movement. These are people that think that they're better than everybody else. They want progressivism. Well, it's a type of socialism, but basically they are the ruling class. They want to be in charge of everything, and they don't have much respect for the American people, certainly not our decisions, certainly not our way of life. And so the media and the Democrat Party, they're two gloves among one set of the ruling class.
Well, what about this impact it has on the young people? Your thoughts?
Well, the young people, I'm more worried about what's coming out of the schools, be it the high schools, a lot of it coming out of Common Core, the colleges, of course, the pop culture. That's terrible. That what the kids are being taught and what they're not being taught. They're not being taught our history, our Constitution. They're not being taught to respect the heroes of our past. And the things that they're being taught, they talk about these millennials that are basically socialist and a lot of anti-Americanism. And then just the pure junk, the crap that's coming out that poisons the soul. It's so toxic. The one's psychological makeup that's coming out of the pop culture. It's just, I feel sorry for the kids. I feel sorry for the country because the country is what its people are. And what's coming up, although, listen, I love all these young people. A lot of them are my kids and grandchildren. But it's disappointing what the culture is doing and what the schools are doing.
Well, that's the scary part of it when we think about the impact this will have on an election and whether or not Donald Trump will be the last Republican president ever.
It's a very good question. Ann Coulter brings that up, and a lot of us wonder. We just have to hope that there's something hidden there that we at this point don't know. Something hidden that resonates with young people regarding the positive perception of America, and you don't know what could happen. Some event that could change these kids from thinking just about nonsense and becoming more serious. But listen, you've got that young girl out of the Bronx, what's her name, Cortez, and all these other people that have been elected recently. These are anti-American socialists. They're foolish. They're ignorant. And but right now they're heroes. The media makes them heroes, and the kids today accept them because they're the recipients of an education that's foolish.
And that is what we have to fight in 2019. Let's talk a little bit about your thoughts, Rabbi, on the Democratic Congress. What do you make of that?
Well, you've got a bunch of fellas there. If it's Gerald Nadler, Adam Schiff, they don't care what they have to do to bring down a president, to impeach a president who hasn't done anything. This all started regarding Russian collusion. There is no Russian collusion. Mueller's had 2 years. He's found nothing. And yet they're going to try to drag the the president and the country through impeachment hearings simply because they want to impeach him. And so I don't have that much regard for a lot of the fellas in the Democrat Congress. I'm very disappointed with many of the Republicans, especially the outgoing Paul Ryan. He never fought the fight because he never believed in what we believed in. And but I think it's just disgraceful that the Democrats will put the country through an unnecessary impeachment process, investigations, simply to nullify the power of a person who was elected by the people. They don't care about what they do to the country. These guys, if it's Adam Schiff from Beverly Hills or it's Jerry Nadler from the Lower East Side, they live in a bubble, a little ghetto of like-minded socialists. And although they're not socialists when it comes to their own money, then they're capitalists. The same thing with Nancy Pelosi. They speak socialism, but in their personal life, they're capitalists. They're speculators. They do things that I wouldn't do, and they live in their own little bubble, so they're reinforced by all the people around them. But they'll bring the country down, and they don't care.
Well, Rabbi, what's some spiritual goodness that we can have here to get us through?
Listen, the American people themselves are great. We're surrounded by people daily. I don't know, where are you, in Pocatello? Or you're in Idaho?
We're in Boise, Idaho.
Okay, so I like Idaho very much. I used to go out there a lot. It's good people. The people in the Midwest are good. This is still America as far as the people. They're good-hearted. They're kind. They're believers. They believe in the Judeo-Christian ethos. American people want to do what's right and what's moral, and hopefully that will prevail. And you can still, if in your own community, community in towns here, live a wonderful, wonderful life. The American people are the best because of our history, our past, our ethos. They're just a great people.
Well, hopefully we can remember that. What about the vitriol and the viciousness of the DLL, the devious little libs? Why do they hate America?
Oh, they hate America. Number one, they think they're better. They do think that they're better. They're convinced that they're better than the rest of us. They hate us because they don't like our values. They don't like Christianity, serious Christianity. Many of them, the liberals, don't like Israel because it's all part of that Judeo-Christian outlook. They hate America because they want to be in charge. They're power hungry. They think they're better, therefore they should control. They're little Politburo people with 5-year plans. And so America is a country that believes in democracy where everybody can vote. A fellow in Idaho can vote. A car mechanic can vote. A lot of these liberals think that, what the heck, we're the ones that are smart. I don't like this whole American idea that anybody has an equal say. They don't like it. They're little dictators. They're control freaks. And so they don't like the religion. They don't like the idea that they're not entrusted and empowered with everything. And they hate us. Many of them, they look at the American people as uneducated, as not sophisticated. We don't eat the right foods. We don't go to the right restaurants. We don't like the right place. And it's based in arrogance, snobbery, and really, they're all like little Caesars, little dictators who want to arrogate power for themselves. They think they're part of the ruling class. They think that makes them, they're somehow sophisticated, and we're not. It's too bad. We didn't have this in America before. We had differences of opinion, but now it's a class thing. Liberals think that they're from a more privileged class.
Well, Rabbi, your thoughts on anything else that people can do to pray? I mean, just to get through this, it seems that people want to take God out of life. You have for yourself on an individual level. Prayer is good, but in terms of the community, you got to fight. You have to fight on the local level. You can't allow certain things to transpire through the libraries. All this LTGB and drag queen 1-hour readings. You can't allow that. You don't want your kids exposed to that. You've got to fight on your school board to not allow certain things into the school. And you certainly have to be aware of the threat of Sharia that's going on. It's happening in Minnesota and in other places. So on a personal level, family, pray. Always pray for your country. But remember, God made this country, made this world. The whole world he made based on action. You have to have the right intentions. You have to pray that your actions will be successful. But it's a land of it's a globe. It's a world that God made of action, and we just can't sit back and let others do it.
we have an obligation on the local level to do whatever we have to do. If it's zoning, if it's libraries, if it's schools, if it's regarding parades in our streets. Otherwise, the other side will win because they are active. They really believe in activism.
And that's the scary part.
Yeah, it's scary. What's scary, though, is how our people somehow just think that if you have think tanks and speeches and you pray, that everything's going to turn out okay. Prayer is that what you do should turn out okay. Now, once in a while, God makes these great miracles. He splits seas and things like that. He brings manna from heaven. But basically, in the scheme of God, it has to be, you have to do things of action. You've got to have an army. You've got to have soldiers, whatever it is. And then you pray that your actions are successful. But if you sit back and just say, well, the system will work itself out, it doesn't work that way. The system is us.
Indeed. And we are the system. It's so funny because the libs just keep going on and on and on. And you sit back to yourself and you think, is there ever going to be any hope? And you look at the president, and now we're going to have this Democratic Congress here on New Year's Eve. It's crazy.
The libs will never stop because this is their identity. You see, our side, we believe in church, we believe in synagogue, we believe in family life, and that's where we're focused. A lot of liberals, and remember, in the liberal movements here, a lot of them are single people. And so they have plenty of time on their hand, and their life is politics. Liberalism, the personal is the political is the personal. In America, there used to be a bifurcation. Politics was politics, but your personal life had nothing to do with your political life, and people didn't enforce the political life on people's personal living. But they do today. That's what liberalism is all about. So, and the liberals have plenty of money. Remember, today, the money is not in the manufacturing in Akron and Canton and Cleveland and Youngstown and Toledo. That's gone. The money is in Hollywood. It's in all the technology. All these guys from Google, Facebook, these fellas, LinkedIn, these fellas are avowed liberals, and they feel part of their business is to missionarize on behalf of liberalism. So Wall Street is basically liberal. And so they have the money. For them, their personal life is involved in their political life, so they'll never stop. A lot of them are not married, and this becomes their life, but they also have the money. Look at people like Soros. He's funding about 225 different organizations that try to foist liberalism on every aspect of society. They've got the money. We don't. Listen, they outspent us this time in the midterms in 2019 with $345 million more during this recent election. They have the money. We don't, and our guys don't spend it for activism. Their side spends money on activism. Our side spends money on, I guess, think tanks.
All right, Rabbi, we appreciate you. Anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, it's just the American life is the greatest. It's a wonderful life. It's founded in just wonderful, astounding, noble, majestic ideas, and we should be proud of it. It's our heritage, and we've got to pass it on, and we've got to be vigorous. We've got to be proactive. That's the way life is. Sure, it'd be nice to just let life go by and hope for the best, but you have to be proactive if you want to win this battle for the soul of America.
Rabbi Spero, thank you.
Hey, thank you, Kevin.
All right. God bless. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're joined by Liberal Steve. Good morning.
Buenos dias, Idaho. Glad you made it over the fence so you can hear my voice. Why is it that I can't call people like Ann Coulter, Rush Limbaugh, Dr. Savage, Sean Hannity, and this rabbi idiots? That's not acceptable, but it's acceptable for them to be an idiot. I don't get it.
I mean, is there a point to this? I thought we were starting the new year on a happy tone. We're out of Syria. Well, the president's doing a great job. The economy is great. The government's shut down.
Wait a minute about Syria. 1 minute we're going to pull everybody out of Syria, and the next minute, I think I'll leave a few individuals there. Come on. It's like the Titanic. It's going down so fast they can't even get the violins on board. Oh, Miller. And now we're taking over. Now we got it made. They'll be singing our tune. The libs are marching on. The libs are marching on. That's the way it's going to be.
That's all you have, really? That's it? How about the government being shut down and nobody's missing it?
What do you want me to do?
I mean, really, isn't that something? The government shut down and no one's missed it. Have you missed it?
We didn't shut it down.
No, have you missed it? Have you missed the government being shut down?
I haven't missed a thing.
Well, what does that say then?
I haven't missed a thing. Well, that's saying that there's a lot of people working that we don't need working.
Apparently.
But yeah, let's make it positive. You just got on my case that I was making things negative, but you just had 20 minutes of some idiot spouting negativity.
Now, why do you have to name call?
Then at the last second, he tries to make it positive.
Well, yes.
We're a great nation.
We are a great nation. We just have to make sure that the libs don't ruin it, like you.
Do you think things should change in everybody's life constantly?
I think that we should support the I think we should support the president.
Well, I'll send him a jock strap if you think he needs support.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Come on.
That's not nice. It's not good to start out the morning so angry.
I'm not angry. You just asked me if I should support the president. I said I'd send him a jock strap. And I wish his wife would wear a skirt more often rather than skin-tight pants. Who's she trying to impress? She's an old lady. Take off the makeup. Oh, God, I wish everybody should walk around nude so we can see who they really are.
On that thought, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Miller. And aren't you excited that we get to grow hemp now? I don't know about the state of Idaho because it's up to each state. But Idaho had its chance. You can't say that they didn't have their chance, can you?
There'll be no hemp here, buddy.
They could have had the factory here. They could have had lots of employees, but no, they blew it.
I imagine they'd be a lot of smelly employees. Let's go to Security Guard Mike, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Security Guard Mike.
Well, hello, Kevin Miller. I have called to pay my debt to you that I owe you.
Wow.
Because you just ripped us up and tore us apart in that first half, and then you got to play a whole game. Well, anyway, for the Alabama Crimson Tide fans out there, it's going to choke me up a little bit, but here you go. Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Doesn't that feel good?
No, it didn't feel good at all. It made me want to cry. No. Anyway, hey, I want to wish you a happy New Year, and I hope this year is it's a greater year than last year because the Democrats are kind of holding everything back. I don't know what their problem is, why they want to hold everything back and make everything a little bit of a disaster for everything. But, hey, that's their choice. That's what they want to do. But the government shutdown is only going to start affecting people next month when EBT cards might not be working so good if the Democrats don't give some money for border protection. We can give money to people on welfare and stuff like that, EBT cards. It's going to be quite interesting next month. The Democrats are going to be in for a world of hurt. People are going to start waking up and going like, wow, now we understand. All right, you have a happy New Year and take care, Kevin Miller, and Roll Tide.
All right, thank you, Security Guard Mike. Happy New Year.
All right, bye-bye.
Our time is 6:24. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Has anybody missed the government being closed?
You have reached the Smithsonian Institution. While the U.S. federal government is partially closed, the Smithsonian Museums and the National Zoo will be open through January 1st.
There we have it.
Hello. Because of the federal government shutdown, Abraham Lincoln Birthplace National Historical Park is now closed.
There we have it. So, have we missed the government? Have you missed the government shutdown? Do you back the president? Let's talk about it next. Kevin Miller 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Ray Amaya, one of the great songs of all time, Todd Rundgren. And I guess that's what we could say about New Year's Eve, but we are working today on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
7's every Gabbard.
And coming up, much more of your phone calls on the government shutdown and supporting the president. He needs us now more than ever. Maybe you disagree. We'd love to hear from you next. Our time is 6:30. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And coming up, Jeff Manasso will join us from Fox News. Also, we'll talk to our friend Hank. Hank on the line. Hank, hang on. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And we go down to really, a few things going on. The college football final will be Alabama versus Clemson 4. We've got the NFL playoff set. Big news yesterday where we have the Ravens getting in on a last-second interception from Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns. And then in the world that really matters, the government is shut down. And does anybody really notice that the government is shut down?
Based on what we're hearing, this shutdown is going to last until at least late this week, but more likely for a week or two beyond that. Negotiations between Democratic leaders in the White House haven't really been happening over this past week, and both sides appear to be digging in. But behind the scenes, a number of lawmakers in both parties have been meeting to try and work out a deal to end the shutdown. The proposals being discussed include a combination of funding for the wall, a fix for DACA, and a number of other immigration provisions that Democrats support, with the hope being that those additions could be enough to win their support with this deal. Now, lawmakers are expecting negotiations will pick up later this week once the new Congress begins, and once Democrats formally elect a new speaker, expected to be Nancy Pelosi.
Boy, there's something to look forward to. Nancy Pelosi, the new Speaker of the House. And the scary part about this is these massive amount of investigations that we're going to see. These massive amounts of delving into the president's personal life. Now, remember all the allegations we've had against prominent Republicans? Let's go back to Roy Moore in Alabama. Now, actually, Roy Moore is suing. So we're going to get into that in the year ahead. But first, Jeff Manasso joins us from Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, my friend. Happy holidays.
Yes. Happy New Year's Eve. So the year that was for the car business, what about it?
Well, the year that was, look, this is going to be known as the year that well, at least let's fast forward just a smidge to 2019. That's going to be along with this year known as the years that were killers for vehicles that were not crossovers, trucks or SUVs. We've already talked about recently, many manufacturers that were scrapping cars. This year GM's going to be taking the axe to its Cruze, to its Impala, to its Volt. GM's cutting the Cadillac CT6, the ATS. Ford cutting its Focus, its Taurus, its C-Max. Honda scrapping the CRZ, and we'll say goodbye to the Prius, the Toyota Prius V, the Hyundai Azera, the Nissan Juke, and the Volkswagen Beetle. That one kind of surprised me because that's kind of one of those standalone vehicles that people specifically like, and it's done pretty well over the last almost 15 years since it was reincarnated, but. It's going away, and so it's basically all because we want bigger, more fuel efficient vehicles like trucks and SUVs, and so the industry is following suit.
Oh, that's wild when you think of the Impala. That's been around. It's a good mid-sized car, but isn't this predominantly just the Americans that are getting rid of their sedans? You did mention Hyundai and a Toyota Prius, but you still got the Camry, you still got the Accord. You still got the Legacy, I guess. Yeah,
well, we've seen some pretty good success on those vehicles, and in large part because Subaru, because Toyota and Honda with the Accord. I mean, they've done some pretty cool things with those cars, and they've souped them up and they've made them very sporty to kind of try and cater to the younger, more, the kind of like the hipster type crowds, and so they've had some pretty good success with those vehicles. Will they end up scrapping the Accord, the Camry? It seems hard to believe because they've had such good success with those vehicles over the last several decades. In fact, the Camry and the Accord, they were number one selling cars at one point. But the trend is what the trend is, and we'll certainly be following it. But folks want bigger, safer, more fuel efficient cars that are also equipped with all wheel drive. So maybe they'll follow suit. I know that the Accord did that cross tour for a while that they ended up scrapping, and that was an all-wheel drive type of vehicle. Had some moderate success, but we'll see if they continue to do something like that. But look, this is the market that drivers that we are looking for in our vehicles, particularly when it comes to fuel efficiency and safety. And so that's where we're going. So we'll see what happens.
Jeff Monosso joining us, Fox News Radio with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Now, I go back to that, though, when you're taking a look at these sedans and such, we're just replacing them with bigger vehicles, and how do we do that in the era where, we still have pain at the pump? Yeah,
well, right now it's a pretty good time to be buying gas, but we're off that summer blend and the less expensive winter blend. I can tell you around these parts here in the Midwest, we're paying just around $2 a gallon, which is not bad. But you're looking at more fuel efficient vehicles. So the Chevy Impala, it's a V6. It used to be a V8 back in the day. But people want they want crossovers and SUVs and trucks, and we've talked about the Chevy Silverado. It even comes in a 4-cylinder these days. But generally, you can get about the same power under a V6 with the Chevy Silverado. You can get a Lincoln Navigator. You can get a Ford Expedition with a V6. A turbocharged V6 that still gets you a really good gas mileage. And people are looking at that and they're going, I can drive a bigger vehicle, a safer vehicle. And so that's what they're doing. And cars, it's just that 4-door sedan isn't as interesting, isn't as attractive to people anymore when you've got these really cool looking other vehicles that we have. The Subaru Forester is out with a really cool redesign. And Ford and Buick and GM are all across the line, but Ford, GM, all of them are producing some really high end quality crossover type vehicles that are A, affordable, and B, they look pretty cool, and I think that's what their target is. That's what people want to drive.
Jeff Monosso, anything else we should be looking forward to as an anti-truck guy? Probably the only one in Idaho. You're just full of good news. All my beloved sedans are going away.
Yeah, look, it's the times that we live in, and perhaps they'll come back at some point. I don't know, but I think that one of the things that we're being spoon-fed by the industry is that we're going to be living in a world where it's all electric and it's all self-driving vehicles. I don't buy it for a minute. I don't buy it. I think that people want to be able to be, that freedom of getting into your vehicle and not having to rely on, only a 150, 200 mile, charge. I think that people want to be able to drive themselves, mostly, other than maybe tight, close quarters, urban areas where maybe an electric and self-driving vehicle might be beneficial, but I think most people generally still want to be able to drive their own vehicles and have that sense of freedom. On the other good news note, I would say that for folks who are listening who are planning to go out and party tonight, there are a lot of ways to get home where you don't have to drive, and that's one of the other things that we covered. Fox Wheels reminding folks to get home safe, and AAA clubs are offering safe ride services for members and non-members. City and county transit systems also offering free rides. Check them out. I'm sure that there are plenty in your area.
Jeff Monosso, Happy New Year, brother.
You too. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Thanks, Hank. Good morning. We want to give you as much time as possible here on KIDO Talk Radio.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I don't want to dwell on it too much about Father Fauché, but years ago, back in 2011, a friend of mine who knew Father Fauché very much wanted to set up an appointment with him because I was a fluent reader of both the Tanakh, or the what you call the Old Testament, and also the Christian Greek scriptures. I read them both. And, of course, I was fascinated by the word meanings and the genealogies of the numbers. I felt were symbolic of ideas like 3 is like the number of resurrection and stuff, and I was basically looking at the genealogies. Well, he wanted to arrange an appointment with me, and it didn't go into fruition because basically Father Fauché had gone on vacation to Italy at the time, and it never came about. But what I'm struck by all this is that Father Fauché, you know, if I was in a position like a priest or something, and I don't pretend to be particularly deeply religious, my interest in it is historical and cultural on religion. But it seemed to me that he must have hated the people that he served. There's a deep hatred or disconnect here, because if I was in a position like that, like a soldier in a trench, I wouldn't let my fellow believers or my fellow people down like that. I mean, in a sense, that's a betrayal. That's not only the betrayal, but the lack of empathy. He must have hated those people. How could you not, if you had any feeling for those parishioners or the feeling for any of those people in there, even if you had tendencies like that, you'd suppress them for their sake. I mean, his world only extended to himself. I mean, that's what strikes me about him, because there's a total Father Fauché, there's a total disconnect between him and his parishioners. It's all his world is so centered within himself, but to such a degree. How could you, if you're a part of a community like that, you have to have empathy. But to me, the fact that the judge did the right thing, because what I'm struck by is the total lack of empathy about this man. Besides the subject of the child pornography, stuff like that, the lack of any kind of feeling for these people. You know, I'm not a Catholic, but it seemed like that if he was a Catholic like that, he would feel loyalty to them.
Well, he was a leader in the church. Look, Dave Beater sent a nice letter about Father Fauché.
Well, I don't think Beater. I shouldn't be a judge of it, because I'm not.
No, I'm not. We're not. I'm a Catholic, and I love the church, and I love my faith, and I was there last night, and this is a great stain on the church. But no, here's the other thing: until the Catholic Church, and there are a lot of incredible priests, incredible lay people, incredible deacons, until the hierarchy in the church, led by the Pope, root this evil out and continue and discontinue the cover-ups, unfortunately, this stuff is going to happen. We're learning about a group of Jesuits out of the Chicago area. This has to stop. And hold on, let me just finish. Yeah. We're talking about children, predominantly little boys, going on for years, and then the attitude of church officials when they've been caught, instead of cooperating with the authorities, in most cases, they've covered it up, and then they treat the victims that they should pay out a pittance of what the pain they've inflicted, as if they're unworthy of it all. It's crazy.
Well, it's the lack of loyalty to the parishioners themselves. I mean, their first and foremost thing, if I was in a position like that, would be your loyalty to the people involved. And I don't understand. I think Beater basically is a secular liberal more than I see him as a Catholic. He's a Catholic because, in a sense, that's his family tradition. I think that's where Beater's coming from. But what I'm struck by is, isn't there any kind of screening? Do these priests have to go to some sort of schools, Catholic schools? Is there any kind of psychological screening that the church could do to screen these people out beforehand? You're a Catholic. Do you know of anything that they can do to better screen these people before they get positions of priesthood or responsibility?
That's a very good point. Again, I think it comes down to, and I think most people will admit it, there's an element in the church, and the Pope says it's Satan, but there's an element in there that has, and look, I can go back, and next year will be my 24th year. I can go back 20 years ago, 22 years ago, talking about this stuff before the Boston Globe broke this case, where we had an interview with a priest who wrote a book about this stuff, that you have an element where you have people, they called them homosexuals, that were, trying to reform the church or make the church more gay-friendly or what have you. Now, again, I don't know if that has anything to do with what's going on, but there, you take a vow of celibacy, and not everybody can do that. And if you can't keep that vow, then you got to go. And like in any organization, Hank, there are rules for some people, and then apparently there are rules for others.
Well, the celibacy thing, I think is the point of it. If there's any logic to the celibacy thing, is that in a sense you're married. It's like a marriage vow to these people, to the whole congregation of the ecclesia, as you might say, if you want to use the Greek term. In other words, that means when you can't do that, that means that your forced loyalty is to yourself and not to your loyalty has to be to your congregants. I would think that'd be you have to place them before self, and you can't have your little pleasures, like your little pleasures, whatever they are, like child pornography, because in a sense you have to override those feelings for the first thing, because for the sake of the people that you're serving. I mean, that's the disconnect to me with somebody like Father Fauché. This man has no essential empathy or feeling.
Well, you heard his defense. He wanted to be let out so he could talk about being bad Fauché. The judge didn't buy it.
I don't. Well, that's what I mean. That's why the judge couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy it for the simple reason that he never showed empathy for those people in the first place. There's no proof that, if you're doing something that's that horrendous and whatnot, you had to hate those people. There's a hatred there to me. I mean, I sense a deep hatred in the soul of Father Fauché. That's what I see out of this. He hated these people so much that he was willing to drag the whole entire St. Mary's congregation into the dirt, and so for that reason, you can't believe his sincerity in anything, because he doesn't have normal human feelings.
Hank, thank you for the call.
Well, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, coming up next, back to the shutdown. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. That song never gets old. Liberty and Linda, good morning.
Good morning, our wonderful Kevin Miller.
Well, thank you.
I believe our president is a savior of the United States, and I believe you are as well. You're wonderful. Your show is wonderful. Anyway, I call because I believe our Constitution was given to us by God. It is the most important document upon the face of the earth. We should not mess with it at all, actually, I read this in the gospel, that our country will be under condemnation. This is not my opinion. It was given to the prophets of old. And Kevin, we need to support our president. We are living in perilous times right now, and I think you know about that.
Well, what do you make of the president? It's going to be pretty perilous for him coming up. And by the way, let's hope and pray that 2019 is the year we bring the president to Idaho.
I'll go for that. Yay. After all, his son did say how important Idaho is, and they will be there, right? They're going to be in Idaho.
That's all right. That's our goal.
Well, Idaho's a marvelous state, wonderful people in it. And so we're important, right?
Well, we're going to make us important. So what do you make of the government shutdown?
Well, I believe our president is doing everything. I believe he's inspired that one of the most important things now is a wall. We need a wall built. I've been reading in the scriptures, the United States is one of the most important things on the face of this earth. We need to keep it safe, and I believe that our president is inspired, and so You know, they shut down the government so many times before, and I believe the people had gotten their checks. You know, they probably did their Christmas shopping. This is something that has to be done. And so that's what I believe, and I back our president 100%. I mean, I can't hardly, there's only one thing since he became president when he did the bombing over there. Anyway, other than that, I think he is being led by God. And so I uphold our president and what he does.
Well, Liberty Linda, we appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Kevin. You don't know how much you're loved. And just keep up doing the great work that you do. And you are part of that. You are part of saving you and Ramaya and the work you do there. And even Justice Suits. We love him, too.
Well, you are in the holiday spirit.
Oh, anyway, yeah, we're looking forward. Happy New Year to you and everyone there. Keep up your wonderful work, and basically that's it. We're going to have a great year next year and support our president, and we need to keep our Constitution as it is. And that's what I had to say this morning.
Thank you, Liberty Linda. Happy New Year. Good morning, Dave.